Thank you for attending this webinar dedicated to Modelio users. This webinar is about the Modelio 3.7 innovations. We'll start by a small presentation and then show a demo of Modelio new features. So as you know, Modelio has a lot of unique characteristics on the market. One very important feature is the constellation toolset that allow you to have your model repository distributed on the web and to manage projects, models, governance, to have a global traceability, and to have a federated enterprises and models cooperation managed by a lightweight client. Modelio supports requirements analysis embedded with the model, integrated with the model, so that there is a very strong traceability capability within Modelio. Requirements are traced and mixed with the model as any other model element. Modelio is a multi-standard tool. It supports UML, BPMN, SysML, and also a TOGAF, DODAF, NAF, and the Archimate modeling language. So depending on your need, you can combine those standards and have a very broad modeling capacity with a very large traceability capacity on your models. And Modelio has a very strong support and consulting team. And also Modelio is based on an open source ecosystem. That is, you can use open source Modelio distribution, which allow you to see what happens in a vibrant community and to have an open ecosystem between end users using the open source distribution and enterprises using the commercial Modelio self-distribution. Modelio has 3 different products dedicated to 3 fields of application. One is for business architecture with the Modelio BA. Modelio BA supports TOGAF, Archimate, UML, BPMN, and supports, for example, business process modeling, enterprise architecture modeling, and so on. There is a tool dedicated to system architecture using SysML, UPDM, and so on for system architects. And there is a tool dedicated for software development called Modelio SD, and on which there are dedicated code generators from the model to generate Java, C#, C++, SQL, and other target code. Let's do a recap of the different evolution of Modelio during time. First, we'll start not from the early beginning, which is 1990, but from 2013, where Modelio 3.0 was launched. At this time, Modelio already had distributed repository support with the notion of model fragments, which are autonomous model databases, which can be distributed around the web. And afterward, there has been Modelio 3.1, which included matrices and free drawings. And then appeared Modelio 3.2, which introduces a constellation, federated repository, and an e-administration feature, which makes Modelio very easy to administrate, whatever distribution, team, and multi-project configuration you may have. In 2015, Modelio 3.3 has been launched, and it includes HTML notes. You can use rich text in the HTML format. You have dedicated form for analyst elements such as requirements, goals, and so on. There are new dialog boxes and Java 8 supports, and also testing framework support. In 2016, Modelio 3.4 has been launched, and it includes Modelio Studio. Modelio Studio allows you to customize the supported models and the features and GUI that Modelio provides. It introduces risk management support, diagram and matrix creation wizards, and the layout assistance for diagrams. In 2017, Modelio 3.5 has been launched, and it contains a thin client for the analyst part. That is, you can do requirement analysis, goal analysis, risk analysis, and so on through a light client on web browser. And those elements are in the Modelio repository with the other parts of the model, which are themselves editable using the usual Modelio tool. And Modelio 3.5 includes test management and BPMN import-export in the standard format. Modelio 3.6 introduces the Archimate free support. Modelio is one of the first tools in the world to be certified by the Open Group standardization community. It supports a refinement tool. You can refine Archimate model within UML and BPMN. It supports impact analysis, also Rekif and HPQC import-export. That is, Rekif is a standard format for requirement analysis, and you can couple Modelio with other requirement analysis tool through this mechanism. And there are new ergonomics for link creation within diagrams. Let's move now to Modelio 3.7, which has been launched in November 2017. It introduces the fit to users expertise GUI, which supports the notions of workbench and expertise. This is Modelio is a very rich tool which can support different kinds of expertise, such as requirement analysis is an expertise, UML modeling is another expertise, enterprise architecture modeling using TOGAF is another expertise. And then each user can define its own workbench by combining the useful expertises for him. And doing this, the tool will have dedicated toolbars, link editors, and services dedicated to the current expertise of the users, so that in a team, different users may have different profiles and different usage and GUI view of Modelio, using different parts of the model depending on their expertise, so that this simplifies the user's expertise of Modelio depending on the user's interest. And now there is also a new symbol view that helps you to adapt diagrams on your personal taste. Modelio 3.7 introduced SVN log. The demo will show how this happens. And there is a new document view on model elements. As you know, Modelio is very strong in document generation features, and document elements and information is spread everywhere in the model, and this document view on model element gathers all interesting aspects that can be used for document generation, such as diagrams or external related documents or text and so on. It simplifies the view of a user who wants to document model. We have an enhanced BPMN and BPM support, and we provide more methodological help to support BPM with a dedicated document generation that really helps you in having a broad BPM support and very professional documentation on these aspects. There is a new template editor feature which has been enhanced to add additional power to define a document template. As you know, there is a graphical tool to edit template, something like a table content of a document that you define as a template, and you add detail about what part of the model you want to include in a document. And from this graphical edition, then Modelio deduced a document generation dedicated to your need. There is a Archimate 3.0.1 support, which is the latest version of Archimate, and a new feature to support licenses with dongle. That is, until now, there has been only two ways to have licenses: floating licenses, which depends on the current usage on a network of different users. There is a fixed license, which is fixed to a workstation, and the dongle is a means to have a kind of floating license that follow a dongle. For example, if you want to use Modelio using several laptops on several places not related within the same network, the dongle is another mechanism for licenses. Let's see a demo of the new feature.
Okay, let's open the shopping cart project. One of the first new features of Modelio 3.7 that you'll notice is that the project environment is saved. All the diagrams that were open before the project was closed are kept open when I reopen the project. So you can close your project at the end of the day and recover your project's environment when you open it the following morning. Now you can see the diagrams opening the way they were opened before the project was closed. And the search history is also kept. Now I need to know the list of all the modifications that were done on the account class. To do so, I go directly to the SVN tab, which is part of the Elements properties. Here, I can get all the revisions with a revision number, date, comments, and the author of the modification. At the top of the page, the status of the element is indicated, letting me know if the element is up to date, if it's locked, and by whom. As a reminder, in the previous version, I had to run a show log command to get those details in a dedicated window. The previous version of Modelio, which was 3.6, came with a new Archimate feature. You can see that my project contains various models: UML, Archimate, and requirements. Not all of these models are of interest to all the members of the team working on the project. To make its interface clearer to everyone, Modelio 3.7 introduces the notion of workbench and areas of expertise, which help filtering the content of models and configure Modelio's interface in regards with the user's interest. In the top right-hand corner, you can see that by default, several workbenches are suggested: the BPM workbench for business analysts, the UML workbench for architects, and the All workbench, which supports all the areas of expertise and makes it possible to remain in the unfiltered mode of Modelio 3.6, in which all the models are visible. If I choose the UML workbench, you can see on the left side that the Archimate and requirements models are now hidden. Only the UML and impact analysis models remain visible. The diagrams creation shortcuts of the toolbar also depend on the selected workbench. Currently, you can see shortcuts to create UML diagrams because I activated the UML workbench. If I select the BPM workbench, new shortcuts appear that let me create BPM diagrams with the UML, while the UML ones disappear. And I can create my own workbench by specifying the areas of expertise I want to use in my project. To do so, I just open the preferences and then select the category workbench configuration. You can see the 4 workbenches present in my project here. Let's say I want to keep only the Archimate elements and requirements and mask all the other elements. If I click on the plus button to create a new workbench that I will call Archimate and requirements, and then I can select the areas of expertise I need. In this case, it will be Archimate and analyst. In this dialog box, you can only choose areas of expertise from the predefined ones or the ones provided by a module. But you can also define new areas of expertise thanks to a Java API to filter the Model Explorer items, modify the list of diagram creation shortcuts in the main toolbar. Now I validate the new workbench, and in the upper right-hand corner, you can see that I can choose Archimate and requirements workbench. When I select it, you can see that the Model Explorer is refreshed, and only shows the Archimate and requirements model. The toolbar is also refreshed, and it now shows the Archimate diagrams creation icons. The workbench does not only update the main toolbar of the Model Explorer contents, it also updates the link editor. In Modelio 3.6, the editor's toolbar only proposes UML links. When I select my Archimate and requirement workbench, the Archimate links are proposed in place of the UML ones. In this new version, you can now configure the types of links that can be displayed. 2 new buttons appear to select one of the 2 user-defined configurations. You can set this configuration by opening the View menu to define them. You can choose the number of levels that will be displayed upstream and downstream of the selected item, the layouts, and select the links that appear in the editor. All available links are listed and grouped by categories: Archimate links, UML links, and links used in Java development, etc. For example, in Java development, I want to display import links, generalization links, and realization links by checking these links in the list. I confirm the configuration and select it. Now, if I select a class, the links editor shows me the links selected in my configuration. Another innovation of Modelio 3.7 is the graphical properties. First, the symbol tab is now integrated to the graphical editor and is not in a separate tab anymore. On the right side of the diagram, you can see a button with an arrow, which allows you to open the symbol tray. The color change has been optimized. It can be done in a single click compared to the 2 clicks it took in Modelio 3.6. Properties can also be hidden or displayed based on the value of other options. For example, if I unchecked the Show Attribute property, the attribute-related properties disappear. When I'm pleased with the graphical properties of an element, it makes sense to save it in a style so I can be able to apply it to other elements quickly. Modelio 3.7 also offers to create a new style just by clicking on a button in the toolbar. The new style, pink, is then available in the list of styles, and I can now apply it to any elements in any diagram. Another need is to be able to change an existing style based on the modified graphical option. This class uses the default style of diagram. I change its color, then I press the last button on the toolbar to update the default style. In this diagram, all items that have the default style are then modified accordingly. The default style has been changed, which means all the elements of all the diagrams are now changed, as you can see here. Now, if I create a new class, it will have the new default style. Latest innovation on graphical options, many diagram themes have been added. For example, the black and white theme, titanium, and the industrial one. Now let's change the subject. Earlier, Philip quickly presented a new view for the elements documentation. If I open this view, I can see it lists on the right side in which Modelio displays all the elements that can be used to document the selected class. Of course, the list contains all the nodes defined on my class. It also displays the rich nodes. With Modelio 3.7, the rich nodes are now called embedded documents. It is possible to have a preview of the embedded document and to open it in a Modelio tab. Here, this is a Microsoft Excel document, which file is managed by Modelio. The list also contains all the diagrams defined under the elements. This makes it possible to quickly view the diagrams in my class without having to open the diagram. Matrices defined under my class appear here too. The list also includes all the diagrams in which my class appears. In this diagram, the account class appears and allows me to visualize relationships with other classes. And to conclude on diagrams, the list also shows all the diagrams that have a relation to my account class. For example, this state diagram is used to understand the life cycle of accounts. In Modelio 3.6, referencing an external document was not easy. With Modelio 3.7, a new interface makes it easy to reference an external document. This can be a link to a website, a wiki, an intranet, and you'll even have a preview of this website. Here, it allows to have a mock-up of an entry from a creation of the account. As with the embedded documents, you'll now be able to specify the document category. For the document generation, this will allow us to know what type of document this embedded document will be generated in. You can specify the URL or file path you want to attach. For example, I choose a PDF document that would document this account class. Once again, you have a preview and the possibility to open this external document within Modelio. Finally, this demo will talk about Modelio's BPMN support. First of all, a new module is available. This module, called BPM Architect, brings new extensions to better support a BPM approach and define the context of your business processes. It provides various matrices, flow matrices, process matrices, and several types of diagrams. This first diagram allows you to define the organization and the different actors involved in your processes. I am able to create the roles, the actors, and the departments, like the client, the sales department. The diagram palette offers several types of links: responsibility links, decomposition links, flows. In my example, I want to specify a communication link between the sales department and the customer. The second diagram makes it possible to define the process map. I will then create processes and organize them by field of organization. The first domain to list the processes related to the sales organization, and a second domain for the administrative processes. In the sales organization, I want to create processes by a product, and another one called define the catalog. Thanks to this type of diagram, you'll be able to macroscopically map all the processes in your context. From this macroscopic view of a process, you can open a BPMN diagram in order to detail this process with this notation. You can notice that the diagram palette has been revamped with new icons as well. I create the start event, then the select a product task, and I draw the link between the two elements. Regarding the creation of elements in BPMN diagrams, new elements creation ergonomics have been added. Previously, to create a link between two tasks, you had to create both its origin and target beforehand, and then you could create it. With this new version, it is now possible to create the link and the target task in a single action. From the select a product task, I'm going to create a new task called order. I will show you again the ergonomics. I can drag and drop the green bubble in the diagram background, and Modelio suggests all the BPMN elements that can be created. When defining a BPMN process, it occurs very often that one needs to insert a task between two already existing tasks. For instance, here, I just noticed that before ordering a product, I must add the product in the shopping cart. Changing this process should be as simple as possible. Modelio 3.7 allows the user to insert a task. I choose to create a task, and then I click on the message, and Modelio creates the new task, and we draw the links. When a process is huge, it is interesting to be able to create a sub-process from a set of tasks. For example, I select these two tasks, then I open the context menu, and a command is available to group these tasks into a sub-process. Both tasks are replaced by a sub-process in the diagram. The sub-process is visible and can be opened if I want to change it later. The goal is to minimize the work of the business analyst, helping him creating this sub-process. I will now create a new process showing the various tasks that the sales department will carry out. The new process is called Invoice and Deliver the Products. In the BPMN diagram, I'm going to drag and drop the sales department I created earlier. Modelio will automatically create a lane associated with the sales department, organizational unit, and I add a few tasks in this new process. Now, I have two processes. The first one was made by the customer, and the other is realized by the sales department. I would like to define a collaboration of these two processes. To do so, I will create a collaboration directly under the Invoice and Deliver the Product process. The collaboration is created with the process content. All that's left for me to do is drag and drop the customer process by a product. I am now able to create the interactions between the two participants. For example, by specifying that the order task will allow the order data to be sent to the sales department. The customer process by a product in the collaboration diagram is not an image, but it is the process itself, and it can be displayed. Here I show you the two processes side by side. If I modify the customer process, you can see that it is also modified identically in the collaboration. And to finish on the improvements of the BPMN notation, the Model Explorer has been reworked to display more useful information. Elements are grouped by types, a task folder, an event folder, a role folder, etc. And that's it for the demo. Thanks for watching.
So thank you for attending this presentation. Regarding the roadmap and the new feature that will be introduced in the future, what we can see for now is that we will still improve the document publisher functionality, and Modelio will be able to generate Microsoft PowerPoint so that from your Modelio models you can derive a PowerPoint presentation that you can show, for example, to your management team. In addition, Modelio will support workflow to manage a life cycle of model elements. For example, someone is building a draft of a process model, and then this process model will be reviewed by someone else, and then it will be validated by another person, and this will be supported by Modelio. Those feature will be available by mid 2018 from Modelio Soft. So thank you for attending this presentation, and see you soon. Goodbye.